The wail pierced the cabin like a siren in a storm, raw and unrelenting, turning every head in the dim glow of the overhead lights. Elias Hawthorne, the man who commanded boardrooms with a single glance, cradled his 6-month-old son against his chest, his tailored suit rumpled, his voice cracking as he whispered pleas into the tiny ear. In that frozen moment, as the plane hurtled toward Seattle through turbulent skies, he looked up with desperation etched into his chiseled features and said, $50,000 to anyone who can make him stop. Waylon had seen it all in his 5 years as a flight attendant on cross-country routes. Divorces unraveling mid-flight, proposals gone spectacularly wrong, even a passenger once smuggling a live chicken in a carry-on. But nothing quite like this. The baby's cries echoed off the bulkheads, a symphony of exhaustion that had the entire first-class cabin shifting uncomfortably in their pods. Elias Hawthorne. Waylon recognized him instantly from the business sections, the tech mogul whose apps had revolutionized remote work, turning Hawthorne Innovations into a Pacific Northwest empire. Now, here he was, undone, his dark hair disheveled, those piercing blue eyes rimmed with red from lack of sleep, offering a small fortune like it was loose change. Waylon moved before he could think, his polished loafers silent on the carpeted aisle. He was 28, with a build honed from weekend hikes in the Cascades and a smile that disarmed even the surliest passengers. His uniform hugged his frame just right, navy jacket crisp, tie knotted with precision. But beneath it, his heart raced with something deeper than protocol. "Sir," he said softly, kneeling beside the man's seat, his voice cutting through the din like a lifeline. "May I?" Elias blinked up at him, surprise flickering across his face, shadowed by the stubble that spoke of days without shaving. The baby, little Theo, Waylon would learn later, flailed tiny fists, his face flushed crimson. Elias hesitated, then nodded, passing the bundle over with hands that trembled. "Please. He's been like this since takeoff from LAX. His mother." His voice trailed off, the words too heavy for 30,000 feet. Waylon took Theo gently, cradling him against his shoulder, one hand rubbing slow circles on the infant's back. He hummed a low melody, something from an old jazz playlist he'd spin on rainy Seattle nights, an Ella Fitzgerald tune, soft and swaying. The cabin hushed as Theo's sobs stuttered, then softened, his tiny body melting into Waylon's warmth. Elias watched, transfixed, as the flight attendant rocked subtly, whispering nonsense in a voice like velvet. "There you go, little man. The clouds are just grumpy today. We'll land soon, and it'll all be green trees and coffee smells." By the time the seatbelt sign dinged off, Theo was asleep, thumb in mouth, chest rising and falling in peace. Elias leaned forward, his gaze locking onto Waylon's with an intensity that made the air thicken. "How did you do that?" he asked, his tone a mix of awe and exhaustion. Waylon smiled, a dimple flashing in his cheek. "Practice, and a bit of magic from my abuela's lullabies." He handed Theo back, their fingers brushing, a spark, fleeting but electric. "No charge, Mr. Hawthorne. Just doing my job." But Elias wasn't having it. As Waylon stood to resume his rounds, the CEO slipped a business card into his palm, the embossed gold lettering catching the light. "Elias, please. And dinner. In Seattle. Let me thank you properly." Waylon pocketed the card, his pulse quickening. He wasn't one for fairy tales. Growing up in a sleepy suburb outside Portland, he'd learned early that love was messy, especially when it didn't fit the straight and narrow mold his conservative family clung to. But something in Elias's eyes, that raw vulnerability, tugged at him. "I'll think about it," he said, winking before turning away. The landing was smooth, rain-slicked tarmac greeting them under a slate-gray sky. Waylon watched from the galley as Elias gathered his things, Theo bundled in a cashmere blanket, a nanny waiting at the gate with a stroller. Part of him expected the moment to dissolve like turbulence, another brush with the elite that faded into memory. But as he bid farewell to the last passenger, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Elias. Theo's already asking for his hero. Fremont, 7 p.m. The walrus at the market says hello." Waylon chuckled, the warmth spreading through his chest. Fremont, Seattle's quirky heart, with its street art and craft breweries. He typed back, "Only if you promise no more mid-air auctions." That evening, the air hummed with the scent of salt and pine, the Space Needle's lights piercing the drizzle like distant stars. Waylon arrived at the waterfront restaurant early, nerves buzzing under his skin. He'd changed into slim jeans and a Henley that showed the ink of a subtle tattoo on his forearm, a compass rose, inked after his first Pride March. Elias was already there, Theo in a high chair gnawing on a teething ring, the baby's giggles a stark contrast to the cabin chaos. "You clean up nice," Waylon said, sliding into the booth. Elias grinned, that CEO polish returning, but softer now. "Says the man who tamed a typhoon. Wine? Or are you on the clock?" "Off duty. Red, if it's bold." Dinner unfolded like a scene from one of those indie films Waylon binged on Netflix. Conversation flowing from Theo's milestones to Elias's improbable rise from a Montana ranch kid to Silicon Valley darling. Elias's wife, Lila, had died in childbirth 2 years prior, a loss that still hollowed his voice when he spoke of it. She was the dreamer. I was the doer. Now it's just us, figuring it out. Waylon shared fragments of his own patchwork life. The ex-boyfriend who'd bailed after coming out to his folks, the string of hookups that left him hollow, the joy of serving strangers who sometimes became friends. Flying's my escape. Up there, everyone's equal, scared, hopeful, human. As plates cleared, Theo dozed in Elias's arms, and the rain pattered against the windows like applause. Elias's hand found Waylon's across the table, thumb tracing a slow circle. "Stay for a walk?" "The market's quiet this time of night." They strolled under umbrellas, Theo bundled against Elias's chest, the Fremont Trolls graffiti eyes watching from the shadows. Waylon felt the pull, that magnetic draw of two souls adrift finding harbor. When Elias kissed him, tentative at first, then deepening under a street lamp's glow, it tasted like possibility, like rain-kissed salt. Back at his Capitol Hill apartment, Waylon replayed the night in the mirror, his reflection flushed. It was too fast, too real. But as his phone lit with Elias's goodnight text, a photo of Theo clutching a stuffed plane, he let himself believe. For the first time in years, the future didn't feel like just another layover. The weeks blurred into a rhythm that felt dangerously like home. Elias's penthouse in Belltown overlooked Elliott Bay, all glass walls and minimalist lines, a far cry from Waylon's cozy walk-up with its mismatched mugs and vinyl collection. But Elias made space. Theo's nursery transformed with Waylon's touch. A mobile of paper airplanes dangling from the ceiling, lullabies cued on a smart speaker. Waylon's shifts ended with detours to the high-rise, where he'd scoop Theo into his arms, the baby's coos a bomb against the jet lag. "You're spoiling us," Elias murmured one evening, as they lounged on the terrace, Seattle's skyline twinkling below. Theo napped inside, the city hum a distant lullaby. Elias's arm draped over Waylon's shoulders, fingers toying with the collar of his shirt. Waylon leaned into him, inhaling the scent of sandalwood and sea air. "Someone's got to. Besides, this kid's got better taste in music than you." He nodded toward the speaker crooning Nina Simone. Elias laughed, a sound that rumbled deep in his chest, chasing away the shadows that sometimes crept into his eyes. Work consumed him, board meetings via hologram, acquisitions that spanned continents. But with Waylon, he unplugged. They cooked together, Elias's attempts at stir-fry ending in charred edges and shared wine. They hiked Discovery Park at dawn, Theo in a carrier, the forest floor crunching underfoot like whispered secrets. Yet beneath the ease, fissures formed. Elias's world was a fortress, assistants who anticipated his every need, security details that shadowed their dates. Waylon caught the stares at upscale brunches, the sidelong glances from Elias's venture capitalist friends, their wives' polite smiles not quite reaching their eyes. "He's good with the baby," one murmured to another, as if Waylon were a novelty act. And then there was Marcus, Elias's right-hand man since the startup days. Tall, impeccably suited, with a jaw like carved marble, Marcus orbited Elias like a planet to a sun. "We've got the Tokyo pitch tomorrow," he'd say, inserting himself into evenings with urgent emails. Waylon dismissed it at first. Jealousy was for amateurs. But Marcus's gaze lingered too long, his compliments edged with something sharper. One crisp October afternoon, as leaves turned the arboretum gold, Elias dropped the question over picnic sandwiches. "Move in. With us." Theo babbled on a blanket, chasing a butterfly, oblivious to the wait. Waylon's heart stuttered. The offer hung between them, sweet as the apple cider they'd brought. "Elias, that's huge. I know. But this, us, it feels right." Theo lights up when you walk in. "And me?" Elias cupped Waylon's face, thumb brushing his lip. I haven't felt this alive since Lila. The kiss that followed was fierce, grounding, sealing the yes that tumbled from Waylon's lips. That night, packing boxes in his apartment felt like shedding skin, old heartbreaks folded into storage, dreams unpacked like fragile china. But integration wasn't seamless. Elias's family descended for Thanksgiving, a convoy from Montana. His sister Clara, sharp-tongued and protective, her husband and 2 teens in tow. The ranch house rental in the suburbs brimmed with turkey and tension. Clara cornered Waylon in the kitchen, flour-dusted apron over her flannel. Elias is fragile. Lila broke him when she left us. Don't make it worse. Waylon's grip tightened on the pie dish. I'm not here to fix him or break him. She studied him, then softened. Good, because that boy's got a heart bigger than this state. Just be careful. The holiday passed in a haze of football and forced cheer, but seeds of doubt took root. Back in the city, Elias buried himself in work, the Tokyo deal morphing into all-nighters. Waylon flew short hauls, returning to a penthouse that echoed with absence. One night, scrolling through his phone in the dark, he found an old photo of Elias and Lila, her hand on his knee, eyes sparkling at a gala. The caption, "Forever starts now." Jealousy wasn't rational, but it gnawed. Was Waylon the rebound, the convenient savior? He pushed it down, focusing on Theo's first steps, wobbly toward Elias's open arms, Waylon cheering from the sidelines. Then came the gala, Hawthorne Innovations' annual black tie affair at the Museum of Pop Culture. Waylon in a tailored tux, Elias resplendent in midnight blue, Theo with the sitter. The room buzzed with Seattle's elite. Tech bros in skinny ties, artists with ironic mustaches, donors whose checks funded half the city's startups. Elias worked the crowd like a maestro, but his hand never left Waylon's lower back. Until Marcus pulled him aside. We need to talk. Privately. Waylon watched them disappear into a side room, the door clicking shut. Minutes stretched. When Elias emerged, his face was a mask, polite, distant. Everything okay? Waylon asked, champagne flute in hand. Fine. Just numbers. But the lie hung heavy. Later, in the limo home, Elias was silent, staring out at the rain-smeared streets. Waylon reached for him, but Elias flinched. Not tonight. Tired. The rejection stung like salt in a cut. That night, alone in the guest room, Elias had insisted on space. Waylon lay awake, the city's pulse mocking his own erratic beat. What had Marcus said? The question looped, a dark refrain. Morning brought apologies over coffee, Elias's arms wrapping around him from behind. I'm sorry. Pressure's mounting. The board's pushing for expansion. China, Europe. It's a lot. Waylon forgave, because that's what you do when love feels like oxygen. But the crack had widened, and in the quiet hours, he wondered if it would swallow them whole. Winter crept in, relentless as the sound's fog. Theo's first Christmas, a tree strung with LED lights in the penthouse, gifts piled under branches shipped from a Montana nursery. Waylon strung popcorn garlands, Elias capturing it all on video, his laughter genuine again. They made love by the fire, slow, exploratory, Elias tracing the lines of Waylon's body like a map to buried treasure. You're my anchor, Elias whispered afterward, Theo's monitor beeping softly in the nursery. And you're my storm, Waylon replied, half joking, half true. But storms brew unseen. Marcus's influence grew, his concerns whispered in late-night calls. The optics, Elias. Investors are traditional. And Theo, he needs stability, not complications. Elias brushed it off, but Waylon saw the doubt flicker. A weekend getaway to the San Juans, cabins on Orcas Island, kayaking through glassy inlets, mended some, but returning to Seattle felt like re-entering a pressure cooker. Then, the call came during Waylon's layover in Portland. Elias's voice, edged with panic. Theo's fever spiked. Hospital. Come home. Waylon raced back, tires screeching into the ER lot. Theo stabilized. Rosella, the doctor said, but Elias's face, gaunt under fluorescence, betrayed deeper fractures. I can't do this alone anymore, he admitted in the dim hallway, Waylon's hand in his. You're not, Waylon said fiercely. We're in it. But as they drove home through pre-dawn mist, Elias's grip on the wheel tightened. Marcus thinks I should hire a full-time nanny. Professional. Waylon's stomach dropped. And me? Just a flight attendant playing house. Elias pulled over, eyes flashing. That's not God. Waylon, you know that's not it. Do I? The words escaped, sharp as shattered glass. Silence stretched, then Elias sighed. I need to protect us. All of us. The drive home was wordless, the city awakening around them like an indifferent witness. Spring thawed the chill, but not the undercurrents. Waylon threw himself into routines. Dawn yoga in Green Lake Park, volunteering at a queer youth center in Capitol Hill, where teens shared stories that mirrored his own, coming out as survival, love as rebellion. It grounded him, reminded him of the man he'd been before Elias's world eclipsed his own. Elias, meanwhile, chased horizons. The China deal closed with fanfare, a splashy press event at the Space Needle, champagne toasts under rotating lights. Waylon stood at the periphery, clapping as cameras flashed, Marcus ever present with a tablet and a smirk. Proud of him? Marcus asked, sidling up. Always, Waylon replied, forcing a smile. That night, celebrations spilled into Pike Place. Oysters at Elliott's, jazz drifting from a nearby club. Theo, toddling now, chased shadows on the cobblestones, his laughter a bright thread. Elias pulled Waylon onto the dance floor, bodies swaying to saxophone wails. To us, he toasted, clinking glasses. But euphoria faded with dawn. Elias's schedule ballooned, trips to Shanghai, investor summits in New York. Waylon's flights aligned less often, their texts growing clipped. Miss you. Landing soon? Stuck in meetings. Rain check. One evening, returning from a red-eye, Waylon found the penthouse dark, a note on the counter. Emergency board call. Order in. Love, E. The fridge hummed, empty of the shared meals they'd once planned. Theo was with Clara, visiting from Montana, her texts to Waylon polite but probing. How's my brother holding up? He sounds distant. Waylon poured a glass of Merlot, scrolling through old photos, Elias's head on his lap during movie nights, Theo's chubby hand in both of theirs. The ache settled deep, a bruise he couldn't ice. Marcus's shadow lengthened. Invitations arrived, networking events where Waylon tagged along, only to be sidelined by conversations of mergers and valuations. You're good with people, Marcus said once, clapping Waylon's shoulder a beat too long. Ever think of corporate? Elias could use you on the team. The implication rankled, Waylon as accessory, not equal. He demurred, but the seed burrowed. Then, the betrayal unfolded in fragments. Waylon's phone buzzed during a layover in Denver. An anonymous email, subject truth you deserve. Attachments, screenshots of texts between Elias and Marcus. He's a distraction. Theo needs a real family. I know, but it feels right. Does it? Or is it grief talking? Remember Lila's wishes, stability, tradition. Waylon's vision blurred, the airport lounge spinning. Grief talking. Tradition. Words like knives, carving out the space they'd built. He confronted Elias that night, storming the penthouse as rain lashed the windows. Theo asleep, oblivious. Is this why you've been pulling away? Marcus in your ear, feeding you doubts. Elias paled, running a hand through his hair. Waylon, it's not. Show me your phone. The demand hung, steel-edged. Reluctantly, Elias handed it over. The thread confirmed it. Late-night vents, Marcus's counsel laced with concern that bordered on possession. He's using you, Elias, to fill the void. I didn't ask for this, Elias said, voice breaking. Marcus has been my rock since college. He worries. About you, or about losing his place. Waylon's chest heaved. Am I the rebound, Elias? The guy who fixed your kid so you could play house until reality bit? No. Elias stepped closer, hands outstretched. You're everything. This, us, it's real. But the damage seeped. Waylon packed a bag that weekend, crashing at a friend's in Ballard. Space, he called it. Elias called hourly, voicemails raw with pleas, texts blooming with memories. Remember Orcus? The stars over the water? Come back. Waylon walked the waterfront alone, ferries cutting wakes like scars. Pride Month approached, rainbow flags fluttering from lampposts, but joy felt distant. At the youth center, he mentored a kid named Jamie, 17, freshly out, eyes wide with fear. How do you know when it's worth fighting for? Jamie asked. Waylon paused, the question echoing his own. When losing it would hollow you out. Reconciliation came tentatively. Elias showed up at the center unannounced, Theo on his hip, a bouquet of wildflowers from the market, daisies and lavender, simple and scent-sweet. I fired Marcus, he said quietly. as kids milled around a craft table. Not because of us, but because he crossed a line. Trusting you means trusting this. Waylon's throat tightened, and the doubts. Gone. Or at least, I'm fighting them. Elias shifted Theo, the baby reaching for Waylon with a gummy smile. We all have ghosts. Lila's mine. But you're mine now. They rebuilt brick by brick. Couples counseling in a cozy office overlooking Lake Union, where a therapist named Dr. Reyes unpacked layers. Elias's survivor guilt, Waylon's fear of erasure. Dates resumed. Picnics in Volunteer Park. Cherry blossoms shedding like confetti. Theo's vocabulary bloomed. Wawa. For Waylon, a nickname that melted defenses. Summer solstice brought a turning. Elias proposed, not with rings, but with a family trip to Montana, his childhood ranch under vast skies. Waylon met the ghosts, Lila's grave by the creek, wildflowers nodding in the breeze. She'd have loved you, Elias said, voice thick. Your laugh, the way you make everything lighter. Waylon squeezed his hand, and I'd have loved her. For making you. Clara warmed too, baking pies with Waylon, sharing stories of Elias as a gangly teen, dreaming of code under starlit fields. You steady him, she admitted. Like Lila did, but different. Better, maybe. Back in Seattle, the penthouse felt fuller, not with things, but presence. Elias delegated, carving weekends free. Waylon reduced flights, exploring event planning for queer nonprofits. Intimacy deepened, touches lingering, whispers mapping vulnerabilities. But harmony is fragile, and autumn winds carried whispers of storm. October's chill mirrored the unease settling in Waylon's bones. The anonymous email had been a prelude, not the finale. Whispers circled Hawthorne innovations, rumors of insider leaks, stock dips tied to personal distractions. Elias dismissed them in boardrooms, but at home, his jaw clenched over briefing papers, eyes shadowed. Waylon noticed the shift, dinners interrupted by calls, Elias pacing the terrace with phone to ear, voice low and urgent. It's contained, he'd say, forcing a smile for Theo's bedtime story. But Waylon, attuned to the man like a sixth sense, felt the fracture widening. The catalyst came mid-month, a Friday night rainstorm lashing the city. Waylon returned from the youth center, arms laden with takeout pho, to find Elias at the kitchen island, laptop open, face ashen. Marcus, fired but not forgotten, stared back from a video thumbnail, a leaked clip from some shadowy forum. What is it? Waylon set the bags down, dread pooling. Elias turned the screen. Marcus, suited and smug, in an interview with a tech rag. Hawthorne's brilliance is unmatched, but lately? Distractions. Personal entanglements that blur lines. Investors deserve focus, not fairy tales. The room tilted. Fairy tales. Waylon's pulse thundered. He outed us. To the world. Not directly, Elias said, but his tone wavered. Implied. Enough to stir shit. Damage control ensued. PR firms spinning narratives of leadership evolution, lawyers drafting cease and desists. Elias retreated into war rooms, emerging hollow-eyed. Waylon played support, fielding calls from Clara, soothing Theo through teething nights, but resentment simmered. Our love, weaponized. Public fallout hit like a wave. Tabloids feasted. Tech titans' secret sojourn. CEO's cabin crew romance rock shares. Photos surfaced, grainy shots from the gala, their dance frozen in judgment. Social media erupted. Supportive hashtags from queer allies clashing with vitriol from trolls. Predatory much? Baby involved? Waylon's inbox flooded, colleagues offering awkward sympathy, family from Portland radioing silence broken by his mother's hesitant voicemail. Heard about your friend. Be careful, son. Elias shielded him, but the strain showed. Arguments ignited over small sparks. Why didn't you see this coming? Waylon snapped one night, as thunder rolled outside. Because I trusted my oldest friend. Elias shot back, voice cracking. And now he's painting us as the villain in his revenge play. Theo picked up the tension, clingy and fretful, his cries echoing the chaos. Waylon rocked him in the nursery, murals of airplanes mocking the grounded reality. Shoo, little pilot. Storms pass. But this one raged. Elias's board demanded distance. Optics, they called it, suggesting a strategic pause in public appearances. Elias refused, but the toll mounted. Migraines, skipped meals, nights on the couch with scotch. Waylon sought solace in motion, running the Burke-Gilman Trail at dawn, mist clinging to evergreens like unspoken fears. At the center, Jamie noticed. You look wrecked, man. Spill. Waylon did, words tumbling. The leak, the scrutiny, the fear that love's cost was too high. Jamie hugged him, fierce and young. Fight for it. Or walk. But don't let them decide. Empowered, Waylon confronted Elias over breakfast, Theo smearing oatmeal with glee. We go public. On our terms. No more hiding. Elias paused, spoon midway. It's not that simple. The company, Theo, is our life. Waylon's voice steadied. Hide, and we lose ourselves. Show them we're unbreakable. The decision crystallized over the next days. Elias's team crafted a statement. Elegant, unapologetic. Personal joy strengthens resolve. Hawthorne Innovations thrives because we embrace all facets of humanity, mine included. Release day dawned crisp, leaves swirling in gusts. Elias hit send from the penthouse, then pulled Waylon close, Theo between them like a bridge. Whatever comes, he murmured. The response tsunami-ed, stocks dipped briefly, then rebounded on ally buy-ins. Op-eds praised vulnerability as the new currency. Queer icons tweeted solidarity. But darkness lurked. Death threats to Elias's inbox, graffiti on the building, pervert CEO. Security doubled. Waylon's flights halted entirely, the sky feeling farther than ever. Isolation bred paranoia. One night, as sirens wailed distant, Elias woke screaming from a nightmare. Marcus's face morphing into Lila's, accusing. Waylon held him, but dawn brought distance. Elias at the office till midnight, home a ghost. Cracks deepened. Waylon's therapist, Dr. Reyes, noted the erosion. Resentment festers in silence. Speak it. So he did, over a rare dinner at their waterfront table, city lights dancing on waves. I feel like the liability. The thing dragging you down. Elias's fork clattered. You're my salvation. This mess, it's external. But it seeps in. Waylon's eyes burned. I love you, but I'm drowning in your shadows. Elias reached across, grip desperate. Then let's surface. Together. Promises renewed, but fate twisted sharper. Mid-November, a courier delivered papers to the penthouse. Lawsuit from Marcus, alleging wrongful termination, defamation. Buried in exhibits. Private emails, Waylon's name dragged through mud. Manipulative opportunist exploiting grief. Waylon read them in the bedroom, rain streaking glass like tears. Betrayal's second strike, deeper. He packed again, not a bag, but resolve. I can't be the villain in your empire, he told Elias, voice steady despite the shatter inside. Elias begged, on his knees in the foyer, Theo wailing from the monitor. Don't. Please. We fix this. But Waylon walked into the storm, umbrella forgotten, the door clicking shut like finality. Seattle swallowed him. Cafes with steaming lattes, streets alive with oblivious strangers. He crashed at Jamie's, the kid's couch a lifeline, vowing space to breathe. Days blurred, job hunting at ground level, barista shifts for cash flow, nights journaling fury into a leather-bound book. Elias's texts pleaded, come home. Theo asked for Wawa. Waylon read but didn't reply, healing in fragments. Pride walks with new friends, therapy unpacking the opportunist label. Clara called, voice thick. He's a wreck. But I get it. You need to fly solo. Winter's grip tightened, solstice lights mocking solitude. Waylon volunteered extra at the center, mentoring through his own mire. Love isn't ownership, he told a group, voice raw. It's choice, every damn day. Christmas Eve, snow dusted the sound, a rarity, magical and merciless. Waylon wandered Pike Place, stalls shuttered, the Ferris wheels glow, a lonely beacon. A text lit his phone, Theo's first snowman. Wish you were here. Attachment. A photo, lopsided snow figure with twig arms, Elias's smile strained behind it. Waylon's resolve cracked. He hailed a cab, heart pounding, arriving as carols drifted from neighbors. The door opened to Elias, unshaven, eyes hopeful. Theo toddled forward, arms out. Wah! The embrace swallowed words, tears mixing with laughter, snow melting on shoulders. I'm sorry, Elias whispered, for letting shadows win. Forgive me, Waylon countered. For running. They talked till dawn, lawsuits pending, therapy joint sessions booked, boundaries redrawn. No more empires over empires, balance, deliberate. New Year's brought tentative joy, a quiet toast on the terrace, Theo asleep inside, fireworks blooming over the bay. To us, Elias said, ring slipping onto Waylon's finger, not proposal, but promise. Simple band, engraved, anchor in storm. Yet renewal demanded reckoning. Marcus's lawsuit dragged into spring, depositions in sterile conference rooms downtown, lawyers parsing emails like archaeologists. Wayland testified, voice steady, recounting the leak's sting, the humanity stripped by headlines. We were building a family, he said, eyes on Elias across the table. Not a scandal. Marcus, opposite, avoided gazes, his polish cracked. Unemployment's toll evident in hollow cheeks. Settlement came swift. Non-disclosure, payout, silence. Victory tasted bittersweet. Elias sold shares to fund queer advocacy, channeling pain into purpose. But internal tempests brewed. Elias's doubts resurfaced in therapy, Dr. Reyes probing gentle. Grief doesn't vanish. It evolves. Elias nodded, hand in Wayland's. I fear losing you to this. To me. Wayland squeezed. Then hold tighter. Theo's second birthday anchored them. A party in Discovery Park, balloons tangling in cedars, kids from the center joining Clara's clan. Wayland grilled burgers, Elias chased toddlers, laughter weaving normalcy. Jamie gifted Theo a tiny pride flag, winking at Wayland. For the little ally. Evenings deepened intimacy, walks in golden gardens, toes in surf, talking futures. Elias dreamed expansion, apps for mental health, inspired by their scars. Wayland envisioned roots, adopting Theo formally, a home beyond the penthouse, maybe a craftsman in Finney Ridge, garden for veggies, space for chaos. But conflict crested unexpectedly. Summer solstice gala approached, Hawthorne's big reveal. Elias invited Wayland as partner, official, arm-in-arm. Excitement buzzed, tux fittings and rehearsals. Then, a board whisper. Conservative investors balking, threatening pullouts unless discretion. Elias related over wine on the balcony, Puget Sound glittering below. They'll come around. Wayland's glass paused. Or we skip it. Our terms. Elias's jaw set. This is my legacy. Skipping says they win. And going says we're trophies. Hurt flared, old wounds reopening. Am I worth the risk, Elias? Or just scenery? The argument escalated, voices rising over Theo's bedtime hum from the monitor. You think I don't fight for us? Elias demanded. Every day. Then prove it. Wayland stormed out, slamming the door, rain welcoming him again. He drove aimlessly, ending at the youth center, dark, but Jamie's light on in the office. The kid listened, then said, Go back. Not for him, for you. Unsaid words poison. Dawn found Wayland at the penthouse door, key turning soft. Elias waited in the living room, head in hands. I called it off. The gala. We're done hiding, or done pretending. Relief crashed. They collapsed together, apologies murmured into skin. You're my legacy, Elias said. Theo, that's the empire. Public pivot followed. A blog post, Elias's words raw. Love isn't a liability. It's the code that runs everything. Shares soared on authenticity, allies multiplied. Healing wove through summer. Family trip to Oregon coast. Theo's first waves, sandcastles crumbling like old fears. Wayland's family thawed, his mother visiting, hugging tentative. You look happy. That's enough. Fall brought milestones, adoption papers filed, Wayland's name on the dotted line beside Elias's. Court day in a sunlit chamber, judge smiling at Theo's babble. Family isn't blood. It's choice. Winter's hush deepened bonds. Holiday cards featured the three, Theo's grin wide, Wayland's arm around Elias, evergreens framing. No more ghosts, just presence. Yet humanity's arc bends slow. One January eve, snow blanketing Seattle rare and thick, Elias gathered them by the fire. Marry me, he said, not with grandeur, but quiet. Kneeling, ring from his pocket, Theo clapping from the rug. Wayland's yes was a breath, sealing journeys. Crisis, when it struck, was a thief in the night, silent, surgical. February's gray enveloped the city, Valentine's cards exchanged in candlelit dinners, Theo's artwork taped to fridge doors. Wayland planned a surprise. Weekend in the San Juans, cabin booked, champagne chilling. But Elias collapsed mid-meeting, boardroom in Belltown, paramedics rushing him to Swedish. Heart arrhythmia, doctor said later, stress's toll, compounded by a congenital whisper ignored too long. Wayland arrived frantic, scrubbing in, Theo with Clara en route. Elias pale in the ICU bed, monitors beeping like accusations. Should have listened, he rasped, hands seeking Wayland's. Guilt ravaged. Waylon camped in the vinyl chair, spelling Clara with Theo, the baby's confusion tugging heartstrings. "Dada sick?" Theo asked, finger to tubes. "Just resting, buddy." But nights blurred, coffee sludge, worries vice. Recovery stretched. Weeks in hospital, then homebound. Elias tethered to machines, his empire on pause. Board interim ed, but leaks sprung. Speculation of downfall, vultures circling. Marcus's shadow loomed anew, anonymous tips to press. CEO's collapse. Lifestyle fallout? Waylon fielded calls, shielded the bed like a sentinel. Resentment flickered, our love's curse, but love's fire burned brighter. He cooked broths from Abuela's recipes, read aloud from Theo's books, traced Elias's palm during quiet hours. "Fight," he whispered. "For us." Elias did, therapy physical and mental, Dr. Reyes adapting sessions to hospital greens. "Vulnerability isn't weakness," she reminded. "It's the vein where strength flows." Clara stayed, ranch practicality grounding. Men are babies when sick. Feed him, fuss less. Spring bloomed as Elias mended. First steps unaided in the park, Theo riding his shoulders, cherry petals confetti. Waylon reduced his world to theirs. Freelance consulting for airlines, focus homeward. But crisis layered emotional quakes. Elias, humbled, confessed fears in the garden, tulips nodding. "I almost left you that legacy alone. Forgive me." Waylon knelt beside, soil under nails from planting. "There's no alone. We're woven." Summer healed deeper. Orcas return, kayaks slicing inlets, stars reclaiming skies. Theo swam, dog paddling fierce. Elias proposed formally under them. Ring exchanged, yes, echoing waves. Adoption finalized in July, courtroom joy, judges gavel a blessing. "Welcome home, Waylon Hale Hawthorne." Fall's harvest mirrored inner bounty. Harvest moon picnic, Theo's words tumbling. "Love you, Wada." Elias's company rebounded. Apps launched for heart health, story woven in. Winter's Eve, wedding small, Capitol Hill Chapel, rainbow banners fluttering. Vows exchanged. In storms and anchors, I choose you. Theo ringbearer, Clara matron, Jamie best man grinning. Reception in the park, lanterns glowing, Seattle's pulse affirming. Dances swirled, Elias and Waylon slow, Theo between, family complete. Yet humanity's depth, a letter arrived post-honeymoon. From Marcus, rehab address scrawled. Regret consumes. Forgiveness, if earned? Elias pondered, then replied, time heals. Start with yourself. Waylon nodded approval. Grace isn't weakness. Spring 2026 dawned vibrant. Theo's third birthday a riot. Balloons, cake-smeared faces. Waylon, belly hinting new life. Surrogacy whispers, felt fullness profound. In quiet moments, gazing at the sound, Waylon reflected, love's path, thorns and blooms, forged unbreakable bonds. Not fairy tale, but testament. Human, flawed, enduring. The arc of their story, like Seattle's layered rains, washed clean only to reveal deeper strata. Post-wedding glow faded into rhythms profound. Mornings with Theo's cartoons blaring, Elias remote working from the kitchen table, Waylon blending freelance with paternity leave planning. Surrogacy progressed, ultrasound's grainy miracles, a sibling on horizon. But shadows lingered, societal undercurrents testing resolve. Pride Month brought parades, rainbow floats snaking through downtown, but counter-protests marred edges, signs decrying family erosion. Elias shielded Theo, but Waylon volunteered undeterred, center kids drawing strength from his visibility. One June afternoon, post-march, a heckler cornered them outside a cafe. Grooming the next gen? Spit-laced words. Elias tensed, but Waylon stepped forward, voice calm. Love grooms nothing but hearts. Walk away. The man slunk off, but echo reverberated. That night, Elias paced, Theo asleep. I want to shield you both. But how? By living loud. Waylon pulled him close. Our story inspires. Don't let fear edit it. Resolution spurred action. Elias testified at City Hall, advocating queer family protections. Waylon keynote youth events, sharing scars as stars. Backlash came, trolls, boycotts, but allies amplified, shares climbing on ethical waves. Autumn deepened introspection. Theo started preschool, backpack slung tiny, tears at drop-off. Waylon lingered in the lot, Elias's hand in his. He's brave, Elias said. Like his dad's. Holidays layered joy. Montana ranch visit. Snowmen and stories. Clara's brood expanding chaos. Lila's grave tended. Flowers laid. Elias's whisper. We've honored you. New Year's toast. To expansions. Family. Firm. Futures. Sugget's call. It's a boy. Spring's birth. Little Ronan Hale Hawthorne. Cries echoing Theo's first. Elias weeping in delivery room. Waylon cradling both. Homecoming parade. Brothers in arms. Penthouse alive with double diapers. Tandem lullabies. Challenges persisted. Sleepless nights. Boardroom pulls. But unity fortified. Therapy evolved to family sessions. Dr. Reyes beaming at growth. Summer solstice. For years post-flight, they revisited Fremont Troll, Theo, and Ronan in carriers. Remember here? Elias asked, kissing Waylon under graffiti eyes. Every spark. Waylon smiled, compass tattoo glinting. Fall's harvest. Book deal for Elias. Memoir weaving tech with tenderness. Code of the heart. Waylon illustrated, sketches of airplanes and anchors. Winter's hush. Quiet vigils. Ronan nursing by fire. Theo reading aloud. Marcus resurfaced. Clean, contrite, coffee meetup yielding cautious bridge. Growth, he admitted. Yours inspired. Humanity's gift. Forgiveness as freedom. As Ronan toddled, Theo's shadow protective. Waylon reflected in journals close. Love, not conquest, crowns. In America's mosaic, flawed, fierce, they etched enduring light.